He was younger than me. I think he was about 3 or 4 years younger than me, and or something like that, because he was 85 or 86 or whatever he was when he died. But I knew I didn't really, know him as a person, but I knew the Cashes, because they went to the Baptist church and all, I kind of, I moved, when you get married, you're not around the youngsters anymore. So I didn't see anybody as much as I did when I was just a real teenager. But I don't have any regrets about my life, because sometimes, since I've gotten older, I want to cry. Not sad, but joyful tears. That I enjoyed my family, my mom, and I enjoyed raising my family. And but when you look back and you think, I think it was good because it has made me a good person. Because I had hard times, I had better times, then I had good times. And my husband made me a wonderful living. He's left me with all I need. I don't have to ask nobody for nothing. Not bragging, but I don't ask nobody for nothing. And I've got my home he built. And I bought I bought me a farm. And my husband always wanted to buy a farm. And I said, well, Ed, I farmed all my life. And I don't want a farm. Okay, Janie. Gosh, I wish I had bought it. I wish we had. Because when we got to where we could, he wanted to buy land. And I didn't want to. But they had something come up for sale out here. So me and Janet, my daughter, we bought it, but we rented it to the Sissels. I don't know if you've heard anybody talk about the Sissels. They're very, very good people and very good farmers. We was following Grandma, other Mama and Papa. Everywhere they went, we would move. I mean, not in the same house every time. So we have lived with them earlier. But after we got out here, I really don't, I can't, we never lived anywhere but poor folks. So that's all I ever expected, I guess. But of course, when I got to be a teenager, I wanted more, of course. I wanted nicer clothes. And we'd get a pair of shoes a year, maybe. But walking on that gravel road sometimes to town, they'd wear a hole in the bottom. All you did was put a piece of pasteboard in there and go on. Till you could pick some more cotton and buy you some more. But when we were young, we had nothing. And had such a family. I don't know how we even lived like we did. But, hey, we made it. And now I'm thankful. And in a way, I'm glad I was raised without anything, because I learned how to protect my savings and my whatever. I worked for American Greaves for 20 years. And after Ed he was mayor at this time, but he still worked at American Greeting. And he worked there 27 years, and I worked 20. So, and then when you get to getting something, you want, a little more. You save a little more. You do, that's just the way it is. If you've been raised, and I was raised right. My grandmother had 2 sons in the service. And one was at Pearl Harbor, and he got killed. Their name was Williams. His name was Clyde. And of course, that tore the family apart. Well, 2 years later, or 2 years later, or maybe a year, the youngest boy went into the Army, and he got killed at the Battle of the Bulge. And another heartache. But I had to say this, but it helped my grandmother and my other mom and my papa, because even back then, they gave it a check every month from each one of them, from the service some way. But so I think that's why that we lived as good as we did, because she had enough she could help us. But they come they knew they were getting a farm when they come in, and we didn't. We had to wait for our turn some way. Yes, and then, oh yeah, I had other relatives there. Mom had sisters with families. They lived here. Because my grandmother had 12 children also, but they all didn't live here at Dice, but some did. And some of them did finally get a farm, I think. One of Mama's sisters married Andrew Jewell, and Mama's baby sister lived here, and she married Owen. They lived out on Road 6 at that time. Her husband did. And let's see, now the Mama's younger brothers, you know, as they got older, they went in service. And I think after Clyde got killed at Pearl Harbor, she had 4 in there in service. And then Uncle Calvin, we had an uncle that did real well in life, and he lived at Bassett, and he had the only grocery store between Bassett and Marion almost. So he got all the business, you know, in Mississippi County, almost all of it. And I think that was one thing too that helped us. I'm sure he helped us when we, you know, needed help. But his name was Calvin Williams, and Mama was Williams. Let's see where the rest of them live. God, they had 12. But like 2 of them got killed in service, and oh gosh, Aunt Carly and Mama. One of them moved away, went up to St. Louis to live. I know I never saw them much anymore. And but you know, the ones that were, you know, the others, they would come back, but then, you know, now they're all gone. We lived out there, well, I lived here in Dice about 17 years, almost 18. But I can't remember that name. But, you know, after the flood, we came after the flood. And the house that we moved in, finally on the farm, it must have got a lot of water must have got into that house because the porch was not real good. And I figure if the water got up and if it stayed very long, see, I don't remember much about the flood, but I was young. But I just know there was one, and Dad had to rebuild that porch later on. But that's about I can't think of anything else I did while I was young. I had a real good friend. One particular lady, or young woman, is the one that really got us in school, and her name was Mary Eva Walker. And she lived next door to next farm. I mean, we was in a farmhouse, but it wasn't our farm. She's the one that got us in school, and I've always thanked her for that. But my friend at school was Dixie Yates. You know, you always have one special friend, and she was my friend. And I guess if I had a boyfriend, I didn't know it. I don't know why. I always thought I was a pretty girl, but I don't seem like I didn't have too many boyfriends. Maybe I just didn't want one. But we always had fun, playing basketball and going to games, and, you know, everybody rode the bus. That's when you met your boyfriend, on the bus. But after that, you went home, they went home. We had no vehicles. No. We walked everywhere we went. But, you know, unless they had something special up here, you didn't walk up here for anything, or I didn't. All my brothers were younger than me. And they were the youngest, the 5 boys. We had one older brother, but he was in the service, so we just had the younger brothers. And we just walked to town sometimes. Just on Sundays, me and my 2 sisters, we would just walk, like I said, up here, and we'd go around here and play jacks, or we'd just mess around over to pop shop, but drugstore thing. And there was you didn't ride around with nobody because too many of them didn't have cars. So we didn't have any. So, And the only time we ever got to ride up here, if we rode the cotton wagon up here with Daddy to the gin. I don't remember doing that maybe once, but I didn't want to do that anymore. But no transportation in my family. Now, my other mom and Papa, they had a car. My other mom and Papa. And him and Daddy would, drive around in it sometime, but I don't remember ever riding in it. When I went into the 3rd grade, I was always kind of tall, short now. It's about as tall as I am now, I think. The 3rd grade teacher, I know she felt sorry for me, or the school must have felt sorry for me, because I didn't start the school here in Dice. I started over in Shawnee. But I went just 1 year and a half, and I didn't get to go to school anymore for 3 years. So that picked me up to about 7, 8, or 9, 10 years old. And but she took me under her wing, the 3rd grade teacher, and she was a teacher, my 3rd grade teacher, and her husband was the administrator of this building at that time, and she lived over here in Dice on First Street over here. And she asked me one day, said, would you like to come up and help me do my house, clean my house on weekends? And I said, oh yeah, I'd love to. And I would do, you'd sweep, you'd mop, you'd dust, and she would always have lunch, and then she would give me $2. Man, I couldn't wait to get to that store, because by this time I was wearing makeup. So you'd get your powder, and you'd get your cream, you'd get your little rouge and a little lipstick, and a pair of socks or a pair of drawers or something. And you could buy a whole lot for $2. And I'd always save a little money after I got that money, go to see the Sunday movie. 15 cents, I think it was, or a quarter or something. But it's funny how that little bit of money would go so far, but I would get it every week then. So it got to where I had a little money. And that was fun, good, it was good. But she did it, I'm sure she did it. I don't, when you call it feeling sorry for me, but she felt something for me. So I was thankful I had that little job.